Hi everyone, my name is Zainab and today I'll be going over our JourneyOne Capstone project. This is a centralized workspace for IT, HR, and auditors to manage the employee lifecycle. So on the right here, we have three different entry points. So you have the IT manager who has full operational access, and they're basically in charge of provisioning access to softwares or assigning equipment. In the middle, we have HR manager, and they're basically in charge of the onboarding, the offboarding, and the employee records. And then lastly, we have auditor, who only has read-only compliance access, and they have access to the compliance history and to the audit history. So first, let's go in as the HR manager. So when we enter, we see a welcome message, and this name edits to whoever is logging on. So there's four quick access buttons. So you have start onboarding, start offboarding, review documents, and plan orientation. And then you have employee journeys, which basically shows the journeys in progress. So right now there's a Tony Gonzalez that is currently being onboarding, and there's 0% progress done for him. Over here on the right side, you have HR tasks, and they automatically get checked off when they're completed. So these are for some old employees that we were doing it for. On the left side, there's different tabs. So you have employees, onboarding, offboarding, documents, orientation, HR tasks, notifications, and HR reports. So let's go back to dashboard and start an onboarding process. So we're going to name this person Alina Miranda, and we're going to put in their email, and we're going to put them as being a UX designer and put the department as design. And then for their start date, we're going to put the 31st. Perfect. So over here, you're given an onboarding checklist. So the first step of this checklist is sending an offer and welcome letter. So let's click this. Right here, there is a pre-written welcome message, and you could edit this if you'd like. The email automatically shows up here that we put earlier as it's saved onto the database. So let's click send letter. Next, we have to collect signed documents. Now, typically, these employees will send you the documents through email, and you just upload them here so they are in a safe location. Perfect. The next step is provision accounts and access. Now, this step is handled by IT. We started from HR. So we're going to request access. And since Alina is a part of the design department, she can have access to Figma, Adobe Creative Cloud, and Slack. So for now, let's request access to Figma. Request access. So we can't move on to the next steps until IT approves this. So let's go ahead and go on to the IT dashboard. And over here, it's a similar dashboard as the HR dashboard. So you are given a good morning message. So down here, you have today's journey and pending access requests. So you see that Alina Miranda needs access to Figma, and you could review that from here. And over here, it shows that she needs to be assigned a laptop. So first, let's go ahead and review this. And we are going to approve the request for Figma. And then it shows up over here as resolved. So go back to dashboard. And then we have to assign a laptop. So let's go ahead and assign her the Dell XPS. Assigned to Alina Miranda. There you go. Now it shows assigned. So back to dashboard. And then we are going to log out from here. Go back to HR. And let's continue on. As you can see, this has been marked as completed. And over here, you can see the journey progress has moved up to 80%. So the last step would be to schedule her first day orientation. So you could select the day, you select the time, you could select the location, and then the orientation host. I'm going to leave it as is and schedule it. And now it shows that Alina Miranda's onboarding is complete. So now let's go through the offboarding process. Start offboarding, and it's going to pre-fill all the information that has been uploaded onto the database. So it's Alina Miranda, her email, her role, her department, and then for the date, let's go ahead and select the 8th, start offboarding. So this is the offboarding checklist. The UI is very similar to the onboarding. So let's go ahead and start tasks. So we have to notify the IT and manager. So we're going to send a departure notice to Sarah Johnson, which is our manager. Send notification. The next step is disabling accounts and revoking access. This needs to be done by IT. So let's go onto the IT dashboard. And then click on View All. And we see that we need to disable accounts for Alina Miranda. So go revoke access. And it shows that currently her account is active, but we need to disable it. So disable, save changes. And then we also need to collect her equipment. So it says Dell XPS, which is the one we gave to Alina Miranda, and it shows to be collected. So we're going to put mark returned. And there you go. Let's go back to the HR manager dashboard and see our progress. Alina Miranda. And there you go. Now it shows completed for the collect company equipment as well as disable account and revoke access. So for the HR manager, we are also responsible for transferring files and ownership. So click start task, and we're going to transfer ownership to Hannah Reyes, which is the HR manager. So complete transfer. And then archive employee record. All this is filled out, and we have to press this. And now it shows that Alina Miranda's offboarding is complete. And from the dashboard, her journey is gone from here, and all these are marked off. Let's go to the auditor dashboard and see what changes have been made there. So this dashboard contains the audit history and compliance history. So down here, it shows the verified event activity with the dates. And then it also shows the latest verified evidence, and it shows success for all these. Let's actually go to audit history, which is the bigger version of that. So down here, you can see Alina Miranda, and it shows that her employee record was archived. And it also shows a timestamp that it was archived, and it shows that it has been a success. So if we scroll down, it's all these employee records that we have done, and it shows A to Z what occurred, what tasks were completed, the accounts that were updated. In compliance, you could also see the checklist of onboarding, the offboardings, and overdue work. So, and it shows the critical risks. So for example, some stuff that have not been passing or stuff that has been overdue. And then down here, it's the same thing as HR dashboard, so you could download different CSVs. So let's log out from here. For deployment, changes are managed through GitHub and connected to Render. This is the GitHub we worked on. As you can see, we all have different branches that we're working on backend and front end. When updates are pushed, Render builds and deploys the application so the live environment stays connected to the current version of the code. The Render dashboard provides deployment history and logs. So let's click this. As you can see, it shows deployed. You can also view the logs. And these are basically useful for monitoring applications and troubleshooting if any issues occur. JourneyOne also uses a managed PostgreSQL database to store employee information, workflows, equipment assignments, and other application data. So now let's move on to the system architecture. So now that I've shown the complete workflow, I'll briefly explain how JourneyOne is built. JourneyOne uses a 3-layer architecture consisting of a front end, back end, and a database. So the front end is built with React and Vite, and this handles the user interface and what users interact with. The backend uses Express to handle application logic, authentication, and permissions. The application data is stored using PostgreSQL database. This separation allows each part of the system to have a clear responsibility, making the application easier to maintain and update. The project is managed through GitHub for source control and deployed through Render. Before I finish, I want to mention one of the current limitations of JourneyOne. Right now, user account and access are still managed within the application, but in a real enterprise environment, it would be much more efficient to integrate JourneyOne with the identity provider like Microsoft Entra ID. That would allow employee accounts, Outlook mailboxes, and system access to be created automatically during onboarding and disabled or removed during offboarding, which would basically reduce the manual work and make the process much more efficient. Overall, JourneyOne demonstrates a centralized, secure, and role-based approach to managing the employee lifecycle from onboarding through offboarding. Thank you so much for watching my demonstration.